Hello, so today I want to look at the new updates that have been added just recently for Photoshop 2023. So there's not too many new things, and the new things that are released aren't, I would say, that impressive. At least, for instance, the first one, which is the selection improvements, are kind of difficult to tell how well it's working as opposed to the older version. So it's Photoshop is saying that the object selection tool has got even better at detecting and making selections like sky, water, natural ground, plants, or architecture. So just hover over the object and click and make the selection. So that's how the object tool has worked. So when everyone's familiar with the object tool, they'll know how it works. But according to Adobe, they have made improvements to it, and time will only tell how much that has improved and how much better it is at making selections. For me, I haven't seen or noticed so much improvements in using it yet, although I've only used it once or twice since I've installed this latest release of Photoshop this morning. So the next one then is what they call the one click and fill. So this is a new feature where you can very easily, with one click, replace an object. And again, for me, this is it seems like Adobe are just making more ways to do the same thing that you could already do with the patch tool, with content aware fill, and so on. So I'm not quite sure, looking at this, what the major benefit of it is. It might speed up your workflow a tiny bit. Is it a cool looking feature to show off to someone? Maybe, but again, it doesn't really add something new to Photoshop for me. So I'm not, again, so impressed with this one. But we can take a look at it anyway. Then the next ones, which I won't use, I have to admit, or at least not at the moment, which is the invite to edit and the share for review, which is in beta, but it is available in the main release application. So share for review and invite to edit are just ways to collaborate with Photoshop. So it's making it more collaborative, making edits more collaborative if you're working as part of a team. But again, and I personally won't be using these, so I'm not going to look at them. The next one then is our photo restoration neural filter, which is, again, this is a beta, but it is in the main Photoshop app. So it's in beta in the main Photoshop app. And they've improved the AI around fixing these older photographs. So if we look here, so if I go into Photoshop and I look, for instance, this image here, which is a image downloaded from Pixels, I'll put the link below. So going to filter and then neural filters. Of course, if you don't have this already downloaded, you will have to download it, and you'll find it under the photo restoration down here. I have already downloaded it, so I'm just going to turn it on. It processes on the device and not in cloud, as you will see here just below the image. It's saying processing on device. So depending on how much power your computer has, it may take a long time or a short amount of time. So you can see there it's kind of updated the face and removed some other elements from the image. And if we do a before and after, so before and after, we can see some minor improvements. You can also increase the scratch reduction. So if I increase that again, it will have to process it on the device. So it may take a few moments to process it. So you can see it before where those scratches are removed. There are further adjustments down here, like noise reduction, color noise reduction, halftone artifact reduction, and JPEG artifact reduction. These may be caused by, if from scanning and enlarging, you may get JPEG artifacts. If it hasn't been scanned well, halftone artifacts. So halftone was a way of printing, especially still used in some kind of comic books and commercial processes, but it was a way to, it was commonly used to print photographs back in the day. So you can reduce those. So you can see now if I do before and after, it's done a pretty good job at removing some of those scratches. If I was working in photo restoration, I wouldn't be too scared yet about this taking over my job, because some of the enhancements don't look so great. So you might want to, so for instance, the enhanced face one, I don't really like what it does to the faces. So I would naturally turn this down. You can play around with photo enhancements, but in this video, we're just going to look at what these features what features are available in this new version and how they've improved them, and then click on OK, and that will of course apply the enhancement to your photograph. The next one then, so if we just skip back here, so this is the photo enhancement. Substance materials, which personally I don't use, so this is used a lot for making 3D models and texturing, which I'm not looking at here. There's some other kind of updates regarding kind of GPU mode, and just general performance updates. And then, so these are the ones that actually I found the most intriguing, but they're only available in the Photoshop Beta. So Photoshop Beta is a different application. You will find it if you have a Creative Cloud subscription. You will find a list of beta programs, which are currently programs that Photoshop or Adobe are trying new tools or updates to tools that aren't stable yet in it. They haven't released into the main version. So these two, the Live Gaussian Blur and the Live Gradients, are both available in the beta app. And that was the app that I was using just a moment ago, is the beta app. So the beta app is just your regular Photoshop, but it has a few small enhancements with things that they're working on. So one of those is the Live Gaussian Blur, which is exciting because you can add and remove Gaussian blur while you're also previewing it. But the one that I found actually the most exciting was the Live Gradients. So I use gradients. I use them now and again. I do find it painful that you have to wait until the gradient is drawn to see what it looks like, and then you do it again and again and keep waiting until you get it right. So with Live Gradients, I really think this is a really nice feature. So with Live Gradients, let's just delete this and create a new blank background, and I go to my gradient tool. So I'm going to select the basic linear gradient and go from left to right, and we can see here now we're getting a live preview of our gradient, whereas before I would have to release the mouse button and then I would get my gradient. But what you can also do now is, you see here in the properties, you can also edit it. So from this point here, I can drag this and decide how quickly I want it to go from black to white. And what's also really useful is you can add more points along this and change the colors. So this is really useful. So you can introduce a mediating color between black and white within this gradient as well. So I think this is really useful one for me, because now instead of having to wait to see what the gradient looks like and then try again and again until you get it exactly right, you'll be able to do it here, and then you'll also be able to change its properties. You can change it from a radial one if you want. You can change the different types of gradients, and it's all live. So I think this is really useful, and you can also change the angle as well, which I think is also really useful. So if you get the angle slightly off, you don't have to go and do it again. And you can play with the scale and so on from here. So I think this can be a really useful tool going forward. As I said, it's only in the beta at the moment, so we'll have to wait until it's in the full version of Photoshop. Yeah, so the other then features that were added to it is the background neural filter. So again, Photoshop now Adobe have decided to start playing around with these new background filters. So if let's see. So I'm just going to delete this one and use my history. I'm going to go back. When I open it, I'm going to have this layer 1 selected. So for this to work, you have to have a layer with something in it selected because you're replacing that image. So we go to our filter menu and we go to neural filters again, and we'll go to, so this is again only available within the beta version of Photoshop. So we have our background creator here. So again, this will have to be downloaded. I'm turning it on, I've downloaded already. So what you can do is, this is in line with, of course, DALL-E and these other AI image creation programs that have been released. So Adobe's trying to get on board with that. So you can create these backgrounds. So if I wanted to type something in, which is maybe and I click create, so it's going to use AI to generate something based on those prompts, and I can use that as a background for this image then just by selecting it. So it takes a few minutes. It normally generates about 3 different ones, so I can use, for instance, this one. It's just processing. So again, it processes on the device. So this is generated from my prompt. So I don't have any trees here. I don't know what happened there in the variations. Here I have some trees. Again here, this one. So you can add different prompts here. So I'm going to swear red, green paint and see what that generates. So again, I assume Photoshop are going to be working in this again, adding further things to it. So directly from in Photoshop, you can add or create these images with these AI prompts. And again, as I said, this is in beta, so let's see how it goes. Yeah, and there are some small enhancements which you can check out on the Adobe website. I'll put the link below. But overall, not a great amount. And as I said, the ones that I found most impressive are actually only available in Photoshop beta at the moment, not in the main application update that was released on October 18th. Thank you for watching. Bye now.